Welcome, everyone, to my first meeting as chair. So sit tight, as I'm sure there will be a lot of bumps in the road. This is our regularly scheduled public meeting of the Shreveport-Caddo Parish Metropolitan Planning Commission, and we're going to start out with our Pledge of Allegiance and our invocation, and then we're going to do a couple of little honors and awards here before we do our opening remarks. It's a little off agenda, but we'll start out with our invocation, and Pastor Jackson will lead us in that, and then Ms. DeMarteau in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. Shall we pray? God, how we thank you now for this day and for the purpose of our gathering, for the potential and the possibilities that lay before us. We thank you for allowing us to accept these responsibilities, and then we ask that we will be accountable for the responsibilities we've been given. Pray that all that we do today in this deliberation will give a balance between business owners and citizens in such a way that our city will be a better place. We thank you for this privilege, and we pray your blessing and guidance on us as we are here today. We ask it all now in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now we have a new board member today over here, Mr. Roca, Mauricio Roca, is that correct? We want to welcome him. Most of us, I think, have just met him today, so this is kind of exciting. So thank you for doing this. Yes, and he is replacing Alan Young, who sadly had to step off because he moved to a different parish. And he is here today with us, and we have a plaque for him to thank him for his service. He was on the board for, 6 years. It feels like 10. He and I got on right around the same time, and it's going to be a loss for our board, although I'm sure Mr. Roca is going to fill his shoes just fine. But Alan, if you want to come forward. Just go around.
Yeah, go ahead, take a picture.
Right up here.
Right up here.
This feels not right.
Take the paper up.
Yeah.
It's not
the
your furniture,
plastic
it's not your
off.
couch at home. Now, take the plastic off.
Read the plaque.
It's like a present, I get to unwrap it.
Yes.
There you go.
This is for Mr. J. Allen Young, Member, Secretary, Vice Chair, and Chair of the Metropolitan Planning Commission, May 17, 2012 to December 7, 2018, in appreciation for dedicated service, presented by members, Shreveport Metropolitan Planning Commission. Congratulations.
Yeah, put the flag in the picture.
Picture of the flag. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Give me a turn.
I'm still around, so like I tell everybody, my signal is
Nancy,
best
just stay
until
there.
we cut over here.
Nancy, just stay there.
Hey, I want you to know, Alan, that Dale told me that we're giving you a plaque for leaving.
Thank you,
Thank
Alex.
you very much. It's been an honor and a privilege. It really has.
Yes.
Good luck, and I'll take you out by good direction. So, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
And second, we want to give a plaque for our outgoing chair, Dan Jackson. Yes, come around. This is presented to Mr. Jackson for his chairmanship 2017 to 2018 at NPC, which I was hoping he would do for another year. I wouldn't have to do it. But that's for you. I guess you look at it. Yes, thanks, Farron. He's going to be by my side helping me.
1, 2, 3. Good job.
There you go.
All right, now we can get started. I know y'all are. All right. So again, welcome to our public meeting. Thank y'all for all being here. Y'all's participation and your presence today is very appreciated. I know it can get frustrating. Sometimes it can take a while, so if you'll just bear with us, we are really grateful for y'all and all of your time today. For public hearing agenda items, if you wish to make public comments on an application, we have MPC comment slips at the speaker stand next to the podium. For future notification purposes, it's very important that you fill out a slip and drop it in the box when you come forward to speak. When you come up, please state your full name, your mailing address, and your zip code before addressing the board. We will call each case on the agenda in order and hear first from the applicant and then those speaking in favor of the application. 10 minutes will be allotted for the principal spokesperson, so keep that in mind. Only 3 minutes for each additional speaker in favor. Then we'll hear from those wishing to speak in opposition to an application. Again, 10 minutes are allotted for the principal spokesperson and only 3 minutes for the additional speakers. And then following that, one representative of the application is welcome to come forward and speak in rebuttal if desired. After hearing comments on each case, the board will then immediately deliberate and vote on the case before moving on to the next case on the agenda. Please note that when the board is deliberating, the members of the public are asked not to comment during that time. Any member of the public may request a copy of the board's decision on a particular case by contacting our office at 318-673-6480 after 1 p.m. tomorrow or by accessing our website at ShreveportCaddoMPC.com. For consent agenda items and other agenda items not requiring a public hearing, public comments can be made upon request by filling out an MPC comment slip. If comments are requested for a specific agenda item, the chair will offer an opportunity for those comments prior to the commission taking any action on the agenda items. All of the MPC board's zoning recommendations are submitted to either the city council or the parish commission for the final decision, depending on the location of the property in question. Please note that it's your responsibility to contact the appropriate governing body about their procedure as related to the matter you are concerned with. Copies of this document and the phone numbers to contact the governing bodies are available on the table next to the podium and in the entryway to this room. As a courtesy, please remember to silence your cell phones while the MPC board is in session. The commission values your testimony and we appreciate your compliance with these guidelines. All right, so the first thing is the approval of the minutes, I guess.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. We'll call for the vote.
Motion by who and a second.
Oh, okay. I have a motion by Mr. Andrews and second by
Ms. Smith.
Ms. Smith. Thank you, Ms. Smith. Sorry. We will call for the vote. No? All in favor of approving the minutes, vote yes. It's approved unanimously. Thank you. We're just going to our first item. I have no opening remarks. Okay. All right, and we're going to start with our consent agenda. We only have one item on the consent agenda, case number SC-219.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
we did receive a letter requesting that this case be deferred.
Oh,
We just ask that you take action accepting the deferral.
So move on deferment.
Second.
okay. A motion by Mr. Jackson to defer and a second by Ms. DeMarteau or Mr. Andrews. Okay. All right. All in favor of deferring? Vote yes. All right. Well, our consent agenda item has been deferred. So this puts us into our regularly scheduled public hearing portion of the meeting. First case is case number SC-119 for preliminary and final plat. If the applicant will come forward. This is not natural.
I'm Justin Severe, 1922 Chestnut Park Lane, Shreveport, Louisiana 71106, and I'm here representing Providence Development Company. And this is for our new section of the development called The Grove. This is for our final plat approval. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Does anybody have any questions, or do you want to have any more description of the application?
I just want to comment that this is almost identical to what you approved as a part of the PUD request for the first phase of the development. When you look at the preliminary plat that you approved and you compare it to this, there's virtually no difference.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dean. All right. Is there anybody else present who wants to speak in favor of this application? All right, does anybody here wish to speak in opposition to this application? All right, seeing none, I'll call for the motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Curtis to approve, and second by Ms. DeMarteau. Call for the vote. All right, and motion passes. Application granted. All right, next agenda item is C-8518, a zoning request. Applicant Smith, Positive Step. Applicant will come forward.
Kevin D. Smith, address 5992 Canada Court, Shreveport, Louisiana 71107.
Thank you. Welcome. Tell us about your application.
My application, I'm representing Smith Positive Step, which I'm a small family business, which I'm trying to open up a event center which can serve as multi-use church, somebody, whatever they want to rent it out, church, prom, whatever, in that area to bring Queensboro back, some life back into that area, which is a very dying area. I spent a lot of money, so I'm here trying to get my application passed so that we can bring some life in that area.
All right, and you're requesting a zoning change
Yes, ma'am.
from R2 to C3?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Does anyone have Ms. Smith question?
Yes. Will you explain when you saying bring some light to the area, and also what would be your hours of operation?
Well, when I
And
say
you said church too.
yes, ma'am.
Oh, really?
Right?
We have no hours of operation.
Yeah. Any
With the
restrictions
enactment
on
of
hours
the
of
UDC, the hours of operation went away, Ms. Smith.
We don't have hours of operation with the UDC. Yeah.
Okay.
Your first question is when I say bring life,
Yes.
those was two abandoned buildings that was built back over in the 50s, and they're just abandoned. And Shreveport alone now have so many abandoned properties, which I purchase a lot of adjudicated properties and repair them and bring, dilapidated houses and bring life back into them. I have a passion for that, and I hate to see buildings just rot out and just fall down. If you pass by that area, you will see that, you will start seeing the transformation of that building. So that's when I say bring life, something the kids can have, look forward to down the road, the parents or whatever, because there's nothing in that area in Queensboro other than crime.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
this is one of the areas that we're trying to encourage redevelopment in. This is a area that recently became, over a period of time, became blighted. There's some real old buildings, over 60 years in age, in the area that will not live up to meet requirements in the current UDC, but because of that old age, parking requirements are not required, and it gives an opportunity for reinvestment in areas that have been neglected and left forever.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Andrews, you didn't have one? Okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Smith, is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition? Please come forward. State your name and address.
I'm Dr. Gail Guidry Griffin, and I have invested in Greensboro until I have a zero balance in my savings account. But it is such a beautiful area, and we have brought life to that area. But I'm sort of in between of trying to understand what he wants to do.
Hey, but real quickly, if I can interrupt you, could you state your address for the record?
It is P.O. Box. Well, the establishment is at 2814 Greenwood Road.
Okay, just a mailing address for you.
P.O. Box 7373. And it's on here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So that was a blighted area 4 or 5 years ago when I invested in it. And I just love being there. But some of the concerns that I'm seeing and hearing from customers that come into my establishment, and before I received this letter, it was, and I think Mr. Smith, I met you once.
Yes, sir.
And he first told me he was going to use the facility as a barber shop, which I would not have a problem with. But what I'm hearing is, and I'm asking the members to research this a little bit more, because the customers are concerned about what exactly will be in this facility. Because on the agenda when I came here, I didn't get an agenda in the packet. It says reception facility, which we, are doing at the building where I met, the cafe. We're still working on it. But my concern is voicing from the customers that this will be a cannabis facility, marijuana or whatever. I'm not sure. So that's why I'm asking, that's why I'm here to ask the members to research this a little bit more. That's what I'm hearing. And my concern was either, I'm in between. I'll support if it's a barber shop, but if it's going to be a cannabis or marijuana lab, I'm not going to support that. The community has welcomed us there. We have not had any problem. I'm not afraid to go into that area. I'm not afraid to work in my establishments late at night. I hear about the high crime, but evidently it's occurring at midnight, or, and they walk by a facility every day, and they're nice. They're coming to the establishment. They're well dressed. They presented themselves. They enjoy the food and everything. So before you support this, if it's going to be a barber shop like Mr. Smith told me, I have no problem with it. Event center, events facility, I just learned when I picked up the agenda. It did not come out on, with my mail out. So, in saying all that, I don't know if you had heard about this or not. But if it's not true, I want to apologize to Mr. Smith. That's why I came here. So, but let's research it a little bit more, because if that's true, a cannabis lab later on, that will bring more problems to that community, which we don't need. So, now, from my understanding, the letter R stands for residential. Is that correct?
The
That's
current
correct.
zoning?
Residential, right?
Correct.
it's zoned as a residential, right?
Correct.
And he's asking for it to become a C classification, which is commercial.
That is correct.
We're commercial facing Greenwood Road and at the corner. I found buyers to buy the dilapidated building when I moved in 4 or 5 years ago. It took us,
Ms. Griffin, can you clarify when you say "we" and what property you're talking about? Because I don't know exactly.
the establishment that I'm talking about is 2814 Greenwood Road.
Okay, what is that?
It's a cafe. It's called
Cafe.
Creole Cafe and Catering.
Okay, is that
MPC,
yours?
we have all the registered,
And that's your business?
that's correct.
Okay, okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so keep going, I'm sorry.
And there's a big building at the corner of Missouri and Greenwood Road. There's a property owner there. I'm squeezed in, and there's owners on both sides, to the left and the right of my establishment. I found buyers to buy into it, which put those buildings back on the tax books so that we can try to move forward and help the people in the community. And that's what I want to continue to do. But I don't want to continue to invest in an area and I have to fight crime. I'm not fighting it now, but if it becomes a cannabis lab, I will have to fight that, and I'm not able to do that. I want to enjoy my retirement from teaching and just give back what I can continue to do and pay my taxes on time, you know. So, but if I'm wrong with this and the customers that's telling me that walk in, because I don't really know a lot of the people, but that's what they're telling me. So if I'm wrong, I apologize to Mr. Smith, but please, let's not support this until we fully research this. And that's why I closed my facility early to rush down here, because I had some customers that come in for lunch, and I was thinking it was next week, but they told me it was today, so I pulled out my file folder, and yes, it was today. I had not marked it on my planning calendar. So that's all I'd like to share.
All right, thank
Madam
you,
Chair.
Ms. Griffin. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Clark, I'm sorry.
Ms. Griffin.
Yes, sir.
I feel real confident that this is not going to be a cannabis marijuana outlet. We don't have the authority to approve such a use, and we have done significant research because we're encouraging investors along that corridor. I know exactly where you are because we assist you in getting the
That's
Creole
correct.
Cafe open
That's correct.
on Greenwood Road.
And we thank you.
But this young man has come in and applied, and he's presented us with all the information that's necessary, and he's only trying to utilize that space as a event center where you can have wedding receptions, and he even refers, and some event centers, as you well know, allow church services to be conducted, but it will be that type of activity. Nothing dealing with the illegal drugs or approved drugs at that facility. So we've done the extensive research. We would not bring it before the board if it was not a use that could not be allowed at that location.
I had pushed my button to speak.
Yes, Ms. Smith?
I wanted to ask you.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you met, you said your neighborhood, you all have a neighborhood association?
I don't live in Queensboro. I just invested. So, I mean, I don't sleep there, but I'm there all the time. And I really, truly enjoyed the area. I don't know about the Queensboro Neighborhood Association, and I don't know if the customers are part of the neighborhood association. I don't know, but they just told me, and I try not to involve politics in the business, but you know, I just listen to the customers. I didn't ask them any question. That's why I'm here.
Okay, my next question. to
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
Did you get a notification? They usually will send out a notification.
I do
for
have
the
it. That's correct.
rezoning, and that, I even heard this morning, and I don't live there, but they did say it was a notification letting you all know what was really happening.
And then it only says on the notification, multifamily residential to, from a R2 multifamily residential to a C3 general commercial. General commercial, it didn't explain anything about it being a reception facility until I picked up the agenda from here when I walked in.
Have we answered your questions?
Yes, sir. But does that answer your question? So I'm still confused. I mean, I understand Mr. Clark's position, but then I get one thing in the mail out, and then I sit down to read the agenda, and I see something else. So, I guess it would be clarification and just, so, and I trust Mr. Clark. He did work with us, so if he's assuring me, I can assure the other investors that what it will be and what it will not be. So can I ask the question? Is it saying here?
Mr. Jackson ask the questions. You have a question?
Yeah, I just had one. You were talking about clarification. I wanted to be sure that, I think I heard Mr. Clark said, but you were still saying you wanted to be clear. I wanted to be clear that, for the record, that your concern appeared to be at least about making sure it wasn't a cannabis lab. You are clear that it couldn't be a cannabis lab, right?
Well,
Now, I'm not saying what somebody has said. You are clear that in the state of Louisiana and the city of Shreveport, it's impossible for it to be a cannabis lab legally.
not really. I don't know the law. What's the law regarding? It's MPC law different from the state of Louisiana because they have approved some facilities.
No, the facilities that approved in Louisiana are also, we already know where they are. They already have been assigned, and it's not open to everybody.
But isn't there one left out, one that has not been assigned?
You have to have a license for that treatment.
That's correct.
We don't have that in treatment.
But I thought the last one, the license was taken away and someone was applying.
Here's what I'm gonna tell you. They couldn't go and operate any way they wanted to, even if they had a license. Whatever that city is, they still got to deal with that particular city. And none of that has ever come before us in the city of Shreveport at this point for that. So that's not even on our radar right now in the state of Louisiana. I just want you to be sure that no matter what the rumor is, that that's not true at this date and time.
And if Mr. Smith don't mind, can he come back up to the
He
podium?
will be able to come back.
If he just reassure me, and he's been at the establishment several times to eat, if he just assure me what you plan on doing.
Dr. Griffin, you want to talk to the speaker?
Yeah, we can, I'm sorry, Ms. Cooper, if Mr. Smith could come up and assure us this is what he's going to do with it, then I want to leave with a clear mind.
All right, thank
So
you.
I can go back
believe
and
your
tell
10
them
minutes
this.
actually has expired, but I think we appreciate everything you've
Thank
said, and
you.
you've been clear, at least to me. I think we have.
And
So
I appreciate all of you
So
for
thank you,
listening.
Ms. Griffin. Is there anyone else here that would wish to speak in opposition to this application? All right, if there's anyone, Mr. Smith, who wants to offer a rebuttal, you're welcome.
Yes, which I can understand where she's coming from. I'm a young black man. Yes, ma'am. I don't know if I have told you, but I have been a police officer since 2009. Most people don't know it because they always see me in my little dirty clothes. I also have an HVAC company. Does a lot of work. Again, the facility that I'm opening up again is going to be a reception hall. That brings jobs for Shreveport police officers because the way I'm addressing it, you have to have a law enforcement officer depending on what type of crowd that rents it. Someone pass away, they can come in there and rent the building out to have their loved one a repass or whatever. This is the facility that I'm opening up because a lot of people in that neighborhood said, yes, I need that.
They stopped by countless, asked me, is it open? I said, no, it's not open. I said, I'm gonna do everything by the book. That cannabis deal, I don't deal with illegal stuff. So whatever was sold or whatever, but I here stand, I'm not that person. So if I answered her question, I hope I did, but if y'all have any question to ask, free to ask the question.
All right, thanks. Any questions, anyone? All right, thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Andrews and a second by
I like
Herbie
B.
Smith. So Ms. Smith, thank you, Ms. Smith. Are there any questions or comments by the board? All right, if not, then I call for the vote. In favor, vote yes. Opposed, vote no. Oops. All right, and that application is approved unanimously. All right, our next item on the agenda is case number C-119, a zoning request by applicant James Martin. Hello.
James Martin, 8010 Uri Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71115.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us about your application.
It was, I believe, an existing taxi cab place, building I had bought, and I'm trying to just make my offices for my construction company there.
Okay, and you're requesting a zoning change from R3 to C3, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions for Mr. Martin? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, we'll ask him to hang around the front because he's got he's right behind it for special use permit as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Yes, okay. Is there anybody else here to speak in favor of this application? Anyone opposed? All right. Does anyone have any?
Motion to move.
Okay, I have a motion to approve
Second.
by Ms. Smith and a second by,
Curtis.
by Mr. Curtis, sorry. Y'all are speaking over each other.
She was gonna
All right, any discussion, any comments?
Mr. Curtis.
Did you have a
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Joseph.
She was gonna call you Dale. We look so much alike.
Y'all are throwing me off. Does anybody have any questions or comments for the applicant? All right. Call for the vote. All in favor, vote yes. All opposed, vote no. And that application is approved?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
yesterday at the city council meeting, it was exposed that if you don't speak directly into the microphones, the persons in the audience cannot hear what you're saying. So we encourage you to speak directly into the microphones.
Okay.
They had a difficult time hearing yesterday.
Okay, maybe that's why I can't hear y'all either. I don't know. All right, so did you still need Mr. Martin to?
He has a next case.
There's the next case too. Gotcha. Okay.
Name and address?
Yes.
Just for the record, sir, yes.
James
Yeah, hang on
Martin,
just a second, I gotta
8010
get
Uri
my
Drive,
paper.
Shreveport,
All right.
Louisiana, 71115.
Yeah, and we are on case number C-219, another special use permit. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
It's the same thing. I'm trying to do the commercial or the construction office there at the 838 Hope Street.
All right, any questions? Comments from anyone? All right. Is anybody else here to speak in favor? Is anybody else here to speak in opposition to this application? All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, I have a motion by Ms. Smith and a second by Mr. Remedies. All right, all in favor? Vote yes, all opposed, vote no. And your second application is approved.
Thank you.
Unanimously, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is case number C319 and P519 for planned unit development and preliminary site plan. Applicant Montrose Investments. Welcome.
Good afternoon, thank you. My name is Joe Fertitta. I live at 6121 Fern Avenue. I'm here to speak on behalf of a development I plan to do south of southwest of the corner of Ellaby Road and Flournoy Lucas. It's a piece of property I've owned for about 25 years, and it's been my idea to put something there over the last few years. I started the project in 2008. Unfortunately, we had a financial crisis, and I decided to walk away from it at that point in time. Since then, I've made the decision to try and rejuvenate the project. To give you an idea of the plan, just a planned unit development. Been working with Mr. Jean over here at the MPC and Mr. Bailey, and it's approximately 7 acres of land. The lower portion of the property that would be on the right side of the screen, it will be a business park development. The other lots on that same side to the to the west of it, we have 2 lots available there that we hope are negotiating and talking with a medical facility to do something with that. The upper ridge, which elevation there is about 34 feet above the bottom part of the property, and that I would like to do into condominiums in the long term. If you look at the plan that we submitted, there are 5 phases to this. This will not happen overnight. We'll start with a venue that has a facility for a, I'll call it a general food facility with takeout foods for a lady here in town that does catering, and she also does private party work, but she also does meals every day for people with various dietetic problems and so on. Her plan is to have a facility where people can come and pick up their food, pre-order it, whatever, and take it out. On the other side of that, I'll have an office space for myself and a small bar and food facility. I've been in that business for about 47 years of my life, and I can't seem to shake it. So my wife said, open it small, and so I don't have to work. So that's what we're looking at there. The whole idea of the project is going to be a sort of a New Orleans-style situation. It'll have Main Street will have gas lamps instead of electric lights. We plan to do architectural styles from New Orleans. I have some pictures here, for instance, of a Creole cottage. One of the facilities, that's an 1820s Creole cottage, and we will duplicate that on part of the property. I also have plans for a 2-story building similar to this one here. It will have wrought iron and gated. Those will be condominium business park facilities. Some will have, Stephen, if you'll correct me on this, it's residents above ground floor, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we'll, and what I plan there is if there are, I know there are artists and there are some people I've talked to that said, gee, I'd like to have a place I could show my wares and live close to it. Well, how about upstairs? You take the back stairs up and you're there. So we've got some ideas for that. We have facility and room for approximately 16,000 square feet in 4 different buildings. And then the front facility on Flournoy Lucas Road will be approximately 8,000 to 10,000 square feet. I'm sort of a New Orleans junkie. I grew up there part of my life. I worked for some very fine restaurants there, and it carried over, and I brought it to Shreveport in 1970. So from 1970 to just 2017, I had a facility on Line Avenue, and I hope some of you were there. I know I've seen a few of you in there. And so I hadn't got that out of my blood yet. So we're going to do another little project like that. And as I said, I think by building it with a flair for the New Orleans look, slate top roofs and that sort of thing, it will be giving the city something more than a box that they can put a business in. And to beg your indulgence, I hope you vote for my project. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Petita. Does anybody have any
Any
questions?
questions?
Mr. Petita? I don't know what that road is. Okay, not right now, but thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, Ms. Smith has a
Yeah,
question.
because they
Yeah.
have a lot of,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, please.
Are you familiar with your steps? Mr. Clark, will you explain them?
I'm sure that in the process of negotiating, Mr. Jean worked with him with the stipulations, which are the trade-offs for him being allowed to do the PUD. Certain things he has to give for getting relief.
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure all that was explained to Mr.
It is in the package we
And he's
received. and
very
we-
well aware of those.
Okay.
Yes, we are, and we've agreed to those things. And the interesting part about the project is we're going to maintain a lot of natural area around it. And if you've not been out there in that area, we front on Bayou Pierre on one side, and that area will be left totally untouched because it is in part of what they call the floodplain. However, in 1991, I was living there, and I know it didn't flood. So I'm not concerned about flooding as much as I am keeping it a natural look, leaving as many trees and things there as we can. We will do some hand harvesting to get rid of some of the underbrush and dead trees. We've already done part of that, trying to get it cleaned up where we can start maneuvering in with equipment to do something with.
And that live entertainment and all of that good stuff?
No, it will not have live entertainment. On occasion, we may have, if somebody wanted to rent it out and have a little party or something, yes, we may have live entertainment, but I don't think it would be the type of, but let's put it this way. 47 years I owned a liquor license in the city of Shreveport. I've never been cited for any violations of that rule or hours, any other thing involving that.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Any other
Petita.
questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this application? Anybody here to speak in opposition? All right, seeing that, I see there's two case numbers.
Yeah, one's for because the jurisdiction crosses both the city limits and the parish limits.
Okay.
So part of it will have to move forward to the parish and part of it goes to the city.
Is it
That's
still
just-
one application?
Yes, for one application.
So one vote?
For one vote,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Motion to approve?
Second?
With the
All right,
steps.
with the stipulations listed by the...
Yeah.
All right,
Second.
all right.
With the
so-
staff, yeah, recommended steps.
Okay, I have a motion to approve this application with the staff recommended, or the staff stipulations agreed with the applicant by Ms. DeMarteau and a second by Ms. Smith. Any questions? I'll call for the vote. Vote yes if you're in favor, and no if you're opposed. And the application is approved unanimously. All right, our next case is case number C419, special use permit and site plan, Shreveport City Marshal.
My name is Carl Richard, 1244 Texas Avenue, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. I'm here representing Marshal Charlie Caldwell. We have purchased the old Ferris Trim Shop building, which is at the corner of Hope and Peabody. It's right across the street from the city jail. We are revitalizing it to a training center / storage, and we're going to have 2 offices in there. Myself and another deputy are going to occupy. We're going to We've run out of room in the city court building to store all of our training equipment, so we're moving it from the basement there to this building so we can make room to hold all the garnishment files and the bills payable files that we have to keep for archives, for records retention.
Okay, and you're familiar with the stipulations?
Yes,
About the
ma'am.
landscaping and the
Yes,
parking
ma'am.
lot? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You're agreeable to that? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Mr. Remedies has a question?
I just thought it was ironic, you're getting a new neighbor.
Yeah.
2 cases ago,
Yes, sir.
the guy that bought that cab place was.
Right up the street.
Just right, yeah, right down the street. That's interesting that nothing happens in that neighborhood forever, and then 2 buildings at the same time, so that's it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ms. Smith?
Yes, I would just like to commend you all because you look like you're all clustered up there in that one building. And if you can get some training and what you're talking about, what I've read, I think is something fantastic, long overdue.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
it's just important to piggyback off of what Mr. Remedies was sharing. Shreveport Police is also invested in some of that property as the law enforcement edge of the city of Shreveport goes into redeveloping that area around the Shreveport Police Complex and City Marshal Complex. So we are really excited about the things that they're doing over there.
All right, yay, thank you, Mr. Clark.
Make a motion to move.
Well, let me see if there's anybody else here to speak in favor of the application. You want to come forward? Yeah.
There's not gonna be any opposition, he's got a gun.
Of course. Anyone who wants to speak in opposition is welcome. Make that clear.
Hi, my name is Yolanda Price, and I received this letter in the mail. I think a property that is that belongs to my grandparents is close to the property that's being requested for the special use. I'm not really sure how that property coincides with the training facility. I visited it several times, and I'm aware of the sheriff's department or the police department that's across the way. So I don't have any oppositions against it. I would like the opportunity to see, how this would involve my grandparents' property, and if there's anything that I need to do, to be even more cooperative with this request.
Okay, if she has any questions, would she be able to visit with?
Where exactly is your grandparents' property?
I don't have the exact address. I actually left a little slip, the tax receipt on my dresser. I just brought this with me, and I saw it since it's in the vicinity, and I was notified.
Did your grandparent live in the property?
My grandfather actually, he had a residential property there at the time. It's no longer there. It's been vacant for a very long time.
Okay.
And Ms. Price, do you have a mailing address?
Yes. It is 9008 Clusters Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71118.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And in reference to you, in all likelihood, it will increase the property value of your grandfather's property since that building has been vacant for a while, and now you're getting activity and development in that property.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Price. And anyone else here to speak in favor of the application? Does anybody wish to speak in opposition to the application?
Told you.
All right. Call for the motion. All right. And are you moving for
Yeah.
approval with the stipulations?
With the stipulation.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion by Ms. Smith for approval with stipulations, and a second by Mr. Colvin. If there's no questions, I'll call for the vote. Yes, in favor, no. All right, and that application is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next case on the agenda is case number C519, application for temporary use permit. The applicant's 2R Construction.
Good afternoon. My name is Romano Dillard, and my address is 2444 Midway, 71108. And my application is for a temporary use rock crushing facility. And first of all, I would like to apologize for not being in compliance. However, I listened to the previous owner that was there, and I was instructed that by being properly zoned for that property, that I wouldn't need any other permit. Once I found out, I took all the necessary ordeals to get in compliance. I got a chance to do some research on the previous owner after I found out that they was untruthful to me about the permits, and found out that they were not in compliance. They had a nuisance in the neighborhood, and I'm prepared to make sure that the facility won't be a nuisance to any neighbors, because I wouldn't want anybody to come into my neighborhood and be a nuisance to me. We've went through all the proper channels to ensure. I think the problem was the dust coming from the crusher. We've contained the dust with a water sprinkler on the crusher that we use. It's a new style crusher, so it has water devices to limit the amount of dust coming from it. We've done a noise management control plan to control the noise as best as we can. I talked to several of the neighbors out there religiously, because I don't want to be a nuisance to anyone. They've, and I've told them my plan, and they all basically agreed with it. And I had them to sign a form saying the noise is low. I have to show each one. The noise and sound, the dust and sound is very low to none coming from that facility. This is a temporary crusher that's hired in. We don't own a crusher. We bring a crusher in and crush concrete as needed to provide aggregate for, we do city projects, and it allows small businesses as myself to be competitive to the larger companies. And so we bring a crusher in as necessary, and it's not a crushing facility that's going to be sitting there crushing every day of the week. Maybe once a quarter, if that, maybe once every other quarter. And when we crush, it's usually 2 or 3 days, and the crushing halts. We don't start operations till around 8 o'clock in the morning, and we usually stop crushing about 4. We've received complaints that we've been crushing, but it's only construction noise from equipment that has nothing to do with a crushing facility. It's everyday noise from a construction company. That's what we are. That's what we do. We have a construction, and we load trucks and trucks in and out, but it's doing regular business hours. It's never after a business hour. And I just asking for permission to operate that crushing facility.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dillard. Mr. Ramirez?
Yeah. So, just so I understand, you bought the place and someone led you to believe that they already had a permit? I just wanted to...
They led me to believe that you didn't have to have a permit because it was zoned for, it's zoned for, it's I-2 zone.
Yeah, it was zoned for industrial, yeah.
And they led me to believe that, if just because it's zoned that you don't need because I specifically asked, did I need any other permits? And they told me no, they didn't have none, and I can see why nothing they done was right and in compliance with anything.
So y'all don't sell this rock, you just use it for your own project?
I use it for my projects.
Okay. So there wouldn't be more traffic like it was loading all hours of the day?
Oh, no, sir. No, sir.
Okay. That's the only question I had. I just want to understand.
I have a question.
Ms. Smith?
You said that your hours of operation would be 8 in the morning, you would stop at 4?
Yes.
And the noise it's not coming from the crusher now? I'm not familiar with no
Yes,
rock, whatever you're
the crusher generate noise, but we did a noise.
equipments I heard you say.
Yes, we did a noise management plan, had somebody to come out and measure the noise, and it was very minimal noise coming from the crusher.
Okay.
Actually, it was more noise from small vehicles passing up and down the road that was coming from the crusher. They measured that by the amount of noise coming from your property that's going out. And at my property line, you was getting more noise from small vehicles, ironically, than you were even from your bigger trucks or the crusher itself.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Dillard. Is there anybody else here to speak in favor of this application? Mr. Clark, did you have a comment?
I was just sharing with Marta Sweeney, she needs to get those petitions to Mark here so you all can see them.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
The
Anyone else here to speak in favor? Anyone here to speak in opposition to this application? Come forward. Whoever wants to speak first will get 10 minutes.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Chirku. My home address is 10479 Jersey Go Road in Keithville. And I have worked at 2433 Midway since 1985. The dust, the noise, you know, it's like a bag of concrete that you're not supposed to breathe. And the dust, if they cover up this grinding with water, when they stack it over in front of the fence, well, this stuff dries and this stuff blows right into where Ilya lives and where I work. We have a business there, and it's been there since 1985. My son and my granddaughter live directly behind Mr. Robledo, and my son is very asthmatic. My granddaughter is asthmatic. I had to take her to the doctor after they started crushing. She broke out with this rash on her body. I took her to the doctor, and they said they didn't know what it was. They gave her prednisone. And the rash continued to get worse, never got better. And finally, I had to take her to the ER. It was a rash completely under her skin. And then I started researching into the dust particles from the rock crusher, which my voice is a direct cause of, because it messes with your respiratory system. It causes rashes, it causes dermatitis on your body, and the longer you're exposed to it, the worse it can be. And my thing is, I don't think any one of y'all would want somebody to set up a rock crushing facility right across from your house that you have to, I mean, if I'm not a smoker, but if I choose to go into a casino, then I am putting myself at that risk. But if y'all approve him to crush rock concrete across from where I have to work and we all have to live, then y'all are putting us at risk, because there is silica in crushed concrete that can get in your lungs and can kill you. And I don't want to have to be put at this, you know. Why should we have to pay? Why can't he take his rock crushing and take it out of the city limits, away from houses? Why does he have to do it in front of where people live? That's all I have to say.
Okay, hang on just a minute. Does anybody have any
Yeah, I have a
questions? Ms. Smith? And you, I'm sorry, come back to the, I think we have a question. And your last name, you said was,
It's Chirku, C-I-R-C-U.
Okay, thank you. I think Ms. Smith has a question.
I have a question. How long have you lived there?
Ilya and I bought this place in 1985, and I lived there up until 2006.
Okay, and it's been in operation since I thought I heard
1985.
1985. And you've been there how long?
21 years. Ilya and I have been married. We're married for 21 years, and we got a divorce in 2006, but I still work there.
According to documentation, I'm just looking at something that's saying that the noise level, low, dust level, all of that good stuff, and I'm just
The noise level, I was talking to a lady at the mayor's office, and it was so loud when I was outside. She said, "I'm sorry, I'm having a problem hearing you." And I was across the street at the house next door, not from where I was working. And it was so loud she could hear it on the phone. It is not quiet. When they were out doing the testing, I saw the city people over there. They were running this machine very, very slowly, not like they were before. They came out and told them they couldn't do it.
Okay. At that time, to what I've heard and comprehend, they were operating illegally at that time.
Exactly.
That's not true. Ms.
That's not true.
The city actually went out and did testing. In order for you to make a decision, they did noise testing, and they did the dust testing. And this is part of the information that Ms. Correa has presented to you, and she could come back up and present it to you again. That was the only reason that they were in operation, was because the city allowed them to operate one day in order for them to gather this information.
I'm following, but I'm going back to 1985.
I know nothing about 1985.
Oh, no, they didn't crush in 85.
No, she's saying that she's been living, that
Yes.
her significant other bought the property across the street. It's like they do upholstery and things of that
Yes,
nature.
we do auto upholstery.
All right.
And we opened in 1985 there.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Ms., I'm going to mispronounce her name again.
Chirku.
Chirku. Thank you, okay. Thank you, Ms. Chirku. Is there anybody else here to speak in opposition to this application? Yeah.
Pressure. She said there's no coming from the street. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Rolando Robledo. You rode, you bled on the dough, Robledo. I live at 2421 Midway. I live directly across the street where they're actually doing all the crushing. When you pull out of my driveway, that's all you see. He does have a lot of construction material over there to work with. And they're doing this every day. And Mr. Clark and I have been through this once. I'm the one that helped close the other place down, and I'm the one that's heading up what we're doing today. And I can't believe the city of Shreveport is letting somebody else come in after we done close one person down. So here we are doing it again. So I'm familiar being standing right here doing this. And it's not our fault living across the street that he bought something he shouldn't have been there. If one place got closed down, why would we allow another place to come in and do the same dadgum thing that the first place did? And then, yes, Mr. Clark closed them down and did a test test and a smell hearing test and all that. But we already had that. We had it from the first company. And now they were working when I started complaining, when they opened up and they were working. I started complaining. Then Mr. Clark says, well, let's shut them down and let's reopen them and let's see how much, let's measure everything. We already had the measurements. Why do we got to do this again? Now, I've retired and I've been there 30-something years myself, next door. And I'm having to breathe this every day. I brought pictures of my motorcycle. For instance, that the dust that we're getting, all the black around the gas tank is the dust. I purposely have not moved that motorcycle in 6 months while they've been over there working, and that dust sneaks over to my house and covers everything in the yard. I've lost 4 dogs. I even lost a female roommate that has COPD. And she couldn't come outside and smoke a cigarette, so I had to allow her to smoke a cigarette in the house, which I don't smoke. That didn't go good. And this is the motorcycle seat. Covered with the same material. And then when he says he's minimizing all the noise and stuff, this is a picture of inside my house and what all the pounding and grinding and all the noise and everything going on, that has never been there before. I've got about 15 or 20 of them now. Inside my house, all through the house. Now, I have no idea when that house was built there. I have no idea, but I know that since I've been there, I've raised a child there, which grew up with this young man right here next door, the whole time we've been there. So I'm really upset about this whole thing, and I can't believe I'm back up here doing it again.
Well, we appreciate your coming back today. Thank you for being here.
Well,
Yes, and I'll go ahead and ask for any questions because I believe your time has expired, but Ms. DeMarteau?
Yes, I want to ask staff a question,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Mr. Clark, I'm sorry,
Yes, the gentleman said that they've closed down one rock crusher facility in this place once before.
that's correct.
And it was closed down due to improper zoning?
It was closed down to improper zoning and not being properly approved.
Not being what?
Not receiving the approval in order to do the rock crushing. And that's what's happening today. They're actually coming before the board to request the temporary use permit in order to do the rock crushing.
Now, he alluded to that they did all these environmental testing and noise and all that before. Was that the
Now,
case?
Mr. Robledo may have paid for some environmental testings, but the city never came out and did actual testing. This time, in order for you to make a decision, these tests were done. And it was the Department of Engineering approached the MPC in order to assist them in getting the necessary approval to do the rock crushing.
And they deemed it or put the requirements for,
Absolutely. They and if you want Ms. Correa to come back and give you that information, they set the standards, and it was shown that this operation is at or below the standards that are required by both DEQ and the city of Shreveport
for the health and welfare of the community.
for the health and welfare of the community. And that's all we can do is in reference to them submitting an application for the permit to ensure that they comply with all the requirements that are necessary to operate.
Okay, and so they're required to do this, is they're continuously monitoring this? So as they're running and doing this, if approved, that there'll be quality measures or quality checks along the way that can be seen and ensure that it's in compliance?
We won't be, like we're saying, they will only be doing this every quarter, every other quarter. If it's part of your desire, we will require that DEQ, ask DEQ, you can't require the state to do anything, ask DEQ to go back out and periodically check at these times.
DEQ's been out 3 times.
Mr. Clark, the presentation that was presented to us by the young lady, can she do that for them?
She is here to do just that.
Well, will you allow her to do
But
this?
I have to allow, once the chair
Oh, I'm sorry.
asks for that information,
Okay.
we'll be more than happy to provide it.
Yeah, we can get, I think we can get there.
I think we need to.
Is there, yes, okay,
I
so
wanna
any other
ask him.
questions?
I have one going.
Okay.
Okay, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm fine.
Okay. Talk to me about the dust on your motorcycle here. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that it was clean at some point in time prior to the state that is depicted in the photograph?
Well, since all this started 5 years ago, I've had open heart surgery.
Okay.
Because of my high blood pressure and just being pissed off all
Yes,
the
sir.
time.
That'll
Which
do
I
it.
never was like this before. And I'm very angry because I rode that girl. Her name is La Bamba. I rode her every day.
Is that 5 years of dust?
No, that
Okay.
is 6 months of dust.
Okay.
And the reason she's sitting right where she's at because she's got ball. I rode the tires off of her. She's got ball tires,
Till the
and
wheels
I ain't got
fell
the
off.
money to put new tires on it.
All right, so you're saying that's 6 months of rock crushing or construction activity or what?
Both.
Okay.
I mean, they're running up and down the road. The trucks come out of the facility, come out on the road, and go down into town wherever they got to go. And if it's been raining, then they're leaving a trail of rock and mud and dust. Then when you pull in my yard, you pull it off the road and into my yard. So I'm getting it all the time. If I'm not getting it from the wind, I put flags on purpose on every pole of my fence. And when the flag's blowing straight into my yard from the north to the south, then that stuff is coming over there. He's got, oh, let me show you one more picture. This is right in front of my house. This is what I got to put up with.
Are you directly across the street?
Directly across the street. You pull out of my driveway, this is all you're seeing. This mount right there is the crush, what he's done crushed. And they're trying to build a fence up there with that rock crushing stuff, which is now gravel, right in front of my driveway. They have eliminated a lot of it by using it and taking it back out to the job site and using it and getting rid of it. But when that machine's on top of that all that rock crushing, and he's up there filling up all the dump trucks when they come in, not only they come in and dump a load, they turn around and go over here and fill up a load of that. So every time the digger's up there digging on that and the wind's blowing, it's blowing right across the street. So I'm breathing it every day. And my voice has changed in the last 5 years. And it wasn't because of the open heart surgery, it was because I'm pissed off about the whole thing. I mean, these ain't real good pictures. This is what my phone took, and I just found out 3 days ago I can go to Walmart and put all this into this. And I'm glad somebody told me that because I didn't have any pictures to bring up here. But I got a handful now that I paid for just to show y'all what's doing to my house alone. And look what it's doing to the street. Look what it's doing to the street. All that wasn't there but 5 years ago, and now it's there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Robledo?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Roca?
I understand that the rock crushing operation just takes place like 2 weeks during the year, something like that.
That's what they're saying, but it seems like I'm always having up here to tell Mr. Clark they're crushing again. Mr. Clark will tell you he's tired of seeing me.
I'm not tired of seeing
So
you.
the main complaint or the main, most of the issues come from the rock crushing or for the whole entire operation?
The whole entire operation. I mean, this noise is going on constantly. From, like he says, 8 o'clock to when they close.
So without the rock crushing, you still have an issue with just everything else that is going on there?
They brought 18 loads. I counted 18 truckloads of rock coming in and dumping and going out and getting another load, coming back in and dumping. He's got like 3 or 4 trucks, maybe 5. And they're constantly running and getting concrete, coming back and dumping it, loading up with the gravel and going out and dumping that and coming back. And it's just non-stopping all day long.
So even without the rock crushing, would you still have an issue?
Yes, I still have an issue. The loud trucks, yesterday, for instance, yesterday, they put a diesel truck right in front of my driveway on their property, and it sit there idled all day long. And if I want to talk to you or anybody on the phone, I have to go in the house to talk to you. If I invite you over or you pull in to come see me, we have to go in my house to talk. Because if not, then we're sitting out there, we're screaming at each other, and it looks like we're mad at each other. And we're not. We're just trying to hear each other. And I have people that just don't come over anymore because of all the noise all the time. And I actually say that my open heart surgery from being so damn mad all the time is because of all this going on. And here I go again. with a new company that we closed down once already. So I got no argument with this man. Just take your business somewhere else and do it. Don't do it in front of residential.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Clark, Mr. Jean, this property is already zoned industrial too.
That's correct.
Correct?
And
I just want to make sure that our board knows, if the rock crushing special use permit is rejected, how is that going to leave his situation still as an I-2? I don't know what else is going on the property that could be contributing to the noise or the regular sound pollution, dust pollution. I don't have, would Ms. Carrera be the best person to ask that?
I can answer that much, and she's prepared to come up. But if the temporary use permit is not approved, the chunks of rock will still remain on the property, and it's still a use that's allowed.
The chunks of rock?
The rocks that they would be crushing.
Okay, as
If
it
they
can still
had
be
it.
stored there and transported
It can
to
be
and
stored
from?
there now, without any approval.
So
The only thing that they're getting approval for is to bring in the rock crusher and do rock crushing the 2 weeks every quarter, every other quarter.
When you say
Well, I wish y'all were there on the 2 weeks that they're actually crushing. I wish I'd invite all y'all to come sit in my yard and let's have a cup of coffee and let's listen to this. And I guarantee you we'll be screaming at each other. And he's making it sound like the cars are making all the noise. Yeah, we got a lot of traffic on Midway Mansfield Road.
So this would be 2 weeks out of every 12, approximately?
He
Eight-
said
8
2
to
weeks
4?
out of every quarter, every other quarter, so
twice a
every
year.
4 months, maybe twice a year, maybe 3 times a year.
Yeah.
His situation
Every
is
other
based
quarter.
on his ability to get work to need rock crushing. It's not just something that's going to occur daily or weekly. As jobs come up, then he will bring in the rock crushing piece of equipment and do rock crushing. But it's not every day.
But does this restrict him to that schedule, or if he got a lot of jobs, he can do more days?
And as she explained to you upstairs, the schedule that's getting approved, that he submitted in the application, is the schedule that we're going to hold him to.
Okay.
The schedule that he submitted is the schedule that we're going to hold him to.
So did he have a permit to get started with, or did he get started and then he gets a permit?
You have to tell me if I have to answer questions, Madam Chair.
You have to ask
Okay.
Chair
Yeah,
Furman the
well,
question.
I'd like to invite one of our planners, who's also an engineer, Ms. Carrera, up. I'm sorry?
I just said please.
Yes, to give us a little bit more, data about the, I know there was a noise mitigation plan, an emissions report, all that. So let's give her an opportunity to educate us a little bit, and then we can go from there. It's okay, thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Alice Correa of Metropolitan Planning Commission. I'm the planner that's been evaluating this case and application. As stated, as Mr. Clark has stated, the applicant has provided a schedule of when they plan to do operations. One of the stipulations for the permit is that they will hold to that schedule. So it will be activities no more than once per quarter, and during that quarter, it would be anywhere from 17 to 14 days at most. So that's
7 to 14?
7 to 14 days per quarter is what was submitted as the application. So that's what the schedule we would be holding them to.
Okay, so that could be up to 14 days every 12 weeks.
12 weeks. Basically what was said earlier, up to 2 weeks every 12 weeks.
Okay.
But as Mr. Dillard stated, typically they do it in less than that time. As Mr. Clark had also stated, they do get their work on a project-by-project basis, so it's not assured, I guess, for lack of a better word, that they will be doing this consistently every quarter. It's just as the work comes in, as it is needed. With regards to the noise assessments and the emissions, they did bring in an environmental company that took some noise measurements. The noise measurements showed, and I'll talk the two items separately, the noise and then the emissions. The noise measurements showed that the ambient noise in the area, there is a lot of other industrial activities in the area, there's a lot of traffic in the area. The ambient noise in the area is measuring around 84 decibels. The city has a requirement that any activity such as this would not exceed that by more than 10 decibels. They also have a stipulation in there, not a stipulation, a requirement that at what they call regulated receivers, one of which would be at the perimeter of the property, it cannot exceed a target decibel level of 90 decibels. The noise assessment that you showed in an independent study and research that I did with the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health indicated that the type of rock crusher that they're using has a maximum decibel level of around 102 at the source, and that if you use standard sound dissipation equations at the perimeter of the property, which is where this regulated receiver would be, the decibel level is estimated to be about 60 decibels, which is below the 90 requirement of the city. With regards to, and is also below the ambient noise level. With regards to the emissions, Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality requires an application approval for a regulatory permit for any site that exceeds 5 tons of emissions per year. The emissions include not just the particulate matter, but it includes nitrogen oxides, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, anything related to running of the engines and moving around of the equipment, as well as the particulates. Based, again, the independent environmental study done by the applicant's corporation, not their corporation, an environmental consultant that they hired, they estimate based on 9,600 tons of rock crushed per year that the estimated emissions overall, including all those things, not just the particulates, is 36.3 tons per year is their estimate. That triggers the threshold for them to get a permit from Louisiana DEQ to conduct those operations. Of those 36 tons, 16 tons of it is the particulate matter. The rest is all your sulfur dioxides, organic carbons, things like that. And if you look at, as was said, the rock crushing is only going to plan to be done at certain times of year. If you take away that rock crushing, you're still going to have the activities of trucks moving back and forth, the stockpiles being moved around, trucks unloading and loading of the particulates, the crushed debris, and that is a use permitted by right at this location. Those estimated emissions for those for the year is 156 tons per year. So by comparison, the 16 tons per year that the rock crusher produces is not very significant compared to what is normally taking place at that site and permitted by right. And just for a last point of reference, as I stated before, they were required to submit a regulatory permit application with Louisiana DEQ, and that application was approved for both the rock crushing and the normal activities at this site. And unless there are any questions, that's the summary that I have.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Ramirez?
Okay, now you mentioned this monitoring equipment that's there. Would that be on site while they're crushing? Is that something that you're required to have on site to be sure that you're not exceeding those decibels?
We as the MPC do not have that requirement, but I believe they do have to, DEQ or the city ordinance requires them to, they're required to notify people before they're doing the rock crushing and I believe, set up the monitors to take those readings.
Okay, and that was my second question, is that so from what your understanding is, before they begin operations, they'll have to call down and let someone at Government Plaza know that their operations have begun and they won't be able to exceed their 14-day limit, correct?
I believe that is correct, yes.
Okay, and so what I was looking for was, it's not like anything else where the staff just operates on if they get a complaint or not. This is something that's pretty restrictive on the owner, and he's required to have this monitoring device on site and let the government and the regulatory agencies know. So if he's outside of that, then the neighbors will know if it is approved, he's outside of that, they could call and they'd come out, and I know Mr. Clark and his guys will be out to shut things down pretty quickly. But
it is my understanding, I don't have a definitive knowledge, but it's my understanding that yes, they have to do that notification with the city.
Okay.
And I might add, Mr. Remedies, that the city engineer has been very intricately involved in this process. He and I worked together in working through the process with Mr. Dillard. And monitoring will be done by the city engineer's office, not the MPC. But they will monitor the dust levels and the noise levels.
Okay, and I guess this question would be for either one of you. When you have that monitoring device on site, who receives that data?
That's data that the city engineer will be getting, not us. But we can get reports if you are inclined to.
No, we weren't. I'm just looking, is it there just to, someone can go and obtain that historic data, or does it connect to Wi-Fi and sets an alarm?
And I don't know exactly how they're set up. If you'd
Okay,
like,
I
we can
didn't
have
know
them
if you
down
guys-
to explain
Okay.
that to y'all.
No further actions I'm asking for. I'm just trying to understand it. So if we have a case again, we kind of know what's going on.
And I think that's a very good observation that we will include in our next, if there's ever another application for a rock crusher.
Yes,
Chairman.
yes, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Because it is a use by right, I understand the gentleman who came to speak and the lady who came to speak as well, what their concerns are, because they have some proximity to the place. But I was listening to statements. Was the person who was there before crushing rock too?
My understanding is that, yes, the company that was there before, Mr. Dillard only purchased the property recently.
Right.
So it was the prior company that was in violation as well.
Got it. So the prior company was actually in violation, and the current occupants have gone through DEQ, City of Shreveport, and all of the parameters necessary to have it, along with their use by right, to also have what they're asking us for a temporary use permit for. Is that
Yes,
correct?
once he was made aware of the violation, he has taken the proper steps to get the proper permits.
Okay, so he has the proper permits, and I guess my concern is that not doing a temporary use permit is not going to alleviate the issues that the people who live in proximity say that they have as it relates to the decibel of noise, and because it's a use by right. And the fact that it's an I-2, it would be different if what we were saying is this person is operating out of zoning, is completely out of compliance. But the truth of the matter is, given the fact that it's that, not only that if somebody else would have buy it, there are a lot of other things that they could do that would create noise, even up to the threshold level, that may still be not palatable for people who live there because it is in fact an I-2. And the businesses, as I appreciated when I saw this, I don't know which one of the neighbors, I don't know anybody who's on that street personally, but it appeared to me that the neighbors, and I think the lady who spoke was saying that they run a business in the same place. And it's I'm assuming it fits whatever their zoning is, wherever they live, or what have you. It's residential and commercial, kind of doing both things wherever they are. That whole area is kind of light industrial, as well as whatever it is, the kind of businesses that they're running. It's not just a typical neighborhood, I guess is what I'm saying, with reference to the fact that it's just residential only.
Correct. There is a lot of industrial and commercial uses in that area. It is basically on the edge of the neighborhood. The neighborhood starts there and extends southward.
Right, okay.
But all the area north is industrial, and as well as a good portion to the east is industrial and commercial.
All right.
And like you said, Mr. Jackson, the area may eventually evolve into light industrial, but a lot of the stuff headed north of Mansfield Road is heavy industrial now.
Heavy industrial?
Yes.
Okay.
On both sides, on the east and west side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see on the map, just the bottom left corner is what's residential. Everything else is industrial or commercial.
Wait, can you clarify that again? What's residential?
The yellow part on the bottom
All the
left, the
yellow.
R17, all of the blue up at the top and to the east is industrial.
So